Van Helsing's Journal, December 6th. Last night I received an anonymous letter where the writer asked me to meet them at a nearby graveyard. This triggered many red flags in my head, but I decided to go to said meeting anyway, prepared for whatever was to appear. And something did appear. As soon as I arrived, a thick fog rolled over the area. I pulled out my whip, prepared to defend myself. A humanoid shadow approached me. I couldn't quite see who it was. It appeared to be female, with long hair flowing off to the side. The silhouette slowly approached, and in a moment of sheer instinct, I thrust my whip at it, wrapping its arm in my silver chain. I pulled it toward me, attempting to draw it into view. However, all that came was its arm. I held up the disconnected arm, which was cyan and rotting. "Can I have that back, please?" I heard a voice say. I waved my coat over the fog to clear it, and saw a corpse, appearing to be stitched together, standing before me. "Who are you, monster?" I asked, still carrying the cold, dead arm in my hand. "Please, sir," she said. "My name is Selina. I need your help." I was skeptical, but agreed to listen. "It's Skeletal Jack. He's in trouble." As soon as I heard the name Skeletal Jack, I groaned. Skeletal Jack was a tall skeleton being who had come out of the underworld once a year, on All Hallows Eve, to terrorize the souls of the living. I was ready to leave, but decided to listen. "A few nights ago, Jack accidentally managed to get into the North Pole and kidnapped Sinterklaas." This was shocking to me. Sinterklaas is one of the most powerful beings in my world, and the fact that he had somehow been kidnapped was surprising. He then stole his sleigh and reindeer and is now trying to give out these disturbing toys to all the children of the world. I tried stopping him, but he just wouldn't listen. I groaned. "So you really expect me to help?" She nodded. "Fine, I will." I quickly began explaining my plan to Celine. "Okay, first, I'm going to take care of Skeletal Jack." At this point, she gasped. "You're not going to, you know." The way she spoke of Jack, she sounded as if she had a romantic attraction to him. "I can promise nothing. If he is out there hurting people, even unintentionally, I need to stop him, whatever that takes." "But you can't!" she cried. "He really is innocent, just misguided." Having fought Jack multiple times, I was a bit skeptical of this claim, so I repeated my earlier statement. "You're no help. I'll do it myself." Suddenly, more fog rose from the ground, and she quickly disappeared. I too was about to head home, when suddenly what looked to be a ramshackled sleigh with skeletal reindeer came flying across the sky above me. The ragdoll had been correct. Unfortunately for me, Skeletal Jack was airborne, and I had no way of reaching his altitude. Or at least, I didn't for now. I grabbed a small book and began a summoning circle. This spell would allow me to summon any supernatural entity to my location, though only if they are allied with me. Using the spell, I summoned the Puppet, an ally of mine who I had met recently. Among her several abilities, she could both fly and teleport, so I was hoping she'd be able to teleport me onto Jack's sleigh. At first, she was quite angered that I had distracted her from her current mission, but agreed to teleport me onto the vessel. Jack saw me and quickly threw a box at me. What appeared to be a deranged Jack-in-the-Box jumped from the package and began to viciously bite at me. I quickly shot it with a silver bullet and threw the corpse from the sleigh. Suddenly, more demented toys erupted from the large bag behind me. A floating mouse-like doll flew at me, gnashing its teeth as it flew. From the other side of me, rolling quickly across the floor, appeared to be a toy duck with razor-sharp teeth and covered with bleeding holes. It bit at my leg, but I kicked it off the sleigh. Here, I aimed my pistol at the flying doll, but my hand was grabbed by several vines from what appeared to be a sentient Christmas wreath. I grabbed a knife and sliced the vines, freeing myself. I quickly shot the flying doll, only to see a large snake coming in behind me. It latched onto my arm and I quickly shot its head, causing it to release. "Jack," I yelled, "you have to stop this." "Why?" he asked. "Listen to them down there, celebrating! They love us!" Screams of crying children could be heard from the ground below us as the demented presence attacked their new owners. "Jack, that's the sound of screaming," I said, slightly confused. "I'm aware. Is it not great?" It was at that moment I recognized the problem. "You are aware that screaming is the sound humans make when they are scared, correct?" Suddenly his empty eye sockets widened. "Wait, what? I thought that was the sound humans made when they were enjoying themselves. Oh no." Suddenly, a lifetime's worth of wrongdoing seemed to strike him all at once. As I realized that, this whole time, Jack hadn't been acting out of malicious intent, but simple idiocy. "We need to put down the sleigh." "Here," I said. Unfortunately, we were beaten to that task. A group of human archers, in an attempt to stop what was happening, had fired several arrows into Skeletal Jack's sleigh. The sleigh quickly began to fall. As we fell through the air, I quickly tried to resummon the puppets, but failed. I turned to Skeletal Jack, who seemed unconcerned with the fall. At first, I thought it was because of his immortality, but then realized that Jack was holding on to the tail of a N.E.R.D, essentially a ghost dog. I waved over to him, and he soon finally noticed that I was falling to my death. He let go of the N.E.R.D and sent it over to me. I grabbed its tail, and we slowly glided toward the ground. Or I glided towards the ground, and Skeletal Jack crashed and completely fell apart. Luckily, as I mentioned, Skeletal Jack is immortal, and we were able to quickly reassemble his skeleton. After fixing Skeletal Jack, I asked him where he was keeping Sinterklaas, and his answer was very frustrating. It turns out that Skeletal Jack had hired 3 demon children to kidnap Sinterklaas, and they had turned him over to the Boogeyman. Now in my time, I have fought many monsters that go by this name. However, this one appeared to be a hive mind of insects and other creatures, all shoved inside his own bag. We set off into what was essentially the first circle of hell, and found this Boogeyman's lair, only to discover that not only was Sinterklaas being held captive, but so was Celine. It turns out that, after our conversation in the graveyard, Celine went to free Sinterklaas by herself. After getting in through means that, frankly, I do not wish to think about, she was captured and tied up next to Sinterklaas. They both were being placed on the table that was slowly being lowered into molten lava. Actually, was it lava or magma? The layer was technically underground, so it would be magma, correct? Either way, Skeletal Jack and I quickly burst onto the scene, attacking the Boogeyman. Unfortunately for us, the Boogeyman had planned out an attack and released several automaton minions, wearing armor and wielding swords and arrows to fight us. I quickly dismantled a few of the automatons, while Skeletal Jack worked his way towards the Boogeyman. Meanwhile, Jack's Mulehound floated outside, barking in our support. Eventually, when we had destroyed all the automatons, the Boogeyman saw his chance of victory was naught, and sought to quickly escape. He tried to run, but I released my whip and latched onto him. However, the monster was quite large and still able to slowly force himself forward, dragging me along. Skeletal Jack saw this and quickly ran over to me, grabbing the whip as well. Together, we pulled the chain and tore open the bag that held together the hive of insects, arachnids, and reptiles that made up the monster. It tried to keep itself together, but slowly fell apart. The insects fell into the nearby magma pool, and the fight was done. Sinterklaas, being the benevolent being he was, immediately forgave Skeletal Jack for his kidnapping, before quickly setting off to finish his rounds. Celine and Jack then began to passionately make out, which I frankly do not want to dwell on. The thought of rotting corpse lips kissing skeleton teeth is just ew. At this point, I ran outside. I quickly pet the Northund and sent out into the night.